Tonight, President Trump will give his first address to a joint session of Congress since retaking the White House. And the administration says the theme will be the renewal of the American dream. The president will be delivering it to a narrowly divided Congress, and it also comes amid sweeping cuts to the federal government, which have spawned weeks of protests in Washington and around the country. And NewsNation's Joe Khalil is live for us on Capitol Hill. Joe, you've been speaking with lawmakers all day. How are Democrats planning to respond to this speech?
You know, it is interesting. As Republicans are big anticipation to hear their party's president come and deliver this address, you've got a lot of Democrats also that are in major anticipation for what President Trump says. And there is this big push to try in some way to protest or to push back. You've got a lot of Democrats who've made the decision actually not to show up at all to the chamber in protest. That's in the House and over in the Senate. At the same time, you've got some discussion about Democrats bringing in guests of people who have been fired, who worked for the federal government. So there's going to be a lot of that as well. And then there is also the possibility, and we've certainly heard it, that there is a more vocal protest inside the chamber while President Trump is speaking from Democrats. Now, whether that happens or not, we are going to see. We know that Democratic leadership has cautioned against it. But take a listen. I did get a chance to ask the Democratic House Whip, Catherine Clark, one of the top leadership positions today, whether there is going to be any sort of protest and what Democratic leaders have said to their members about cautioning them maybe not to do that. Interesting response I got from Whip Clark. This is what she said.
You know, the last thing I'm concerned about as we are looking at the dismantling of government, taking away people's health care, veteran benefits, is the decorum of the House Democrats. Our focus is on the American people and fighting for what they need.
Now, earlier this week, the leader of the Democratic House Caucus, Hakeem Jeffries, he actually sent a Dear Colleague letter to all of his members talking about the fact that he and his leadership team are going to be in the chamber. And this is what he said about it. He says that we will be there, quote, to make clear to the nation that there is a strong opposition party ready and willing and able to serve as a check and balance on the excesses of the administration. It's important to have a strong, determined, and dignified Democratic presence in the chamber. So it will be something to watch. There's obviously going to be a lot of substance today, Nichole, in that speech from President Trump and a lot of policy that's going to be discussed. But the sort of theatrics around it also something that will be of note as the president begins his address later tonight.
All right. So, Joe, I started by asking you about the opposition, but how are Republicans preparing for tonight's speech?
Yeah, we've obviously spoken to a lot of Republicans today as well. What we've heard from a lot of them is that they want to see President Trump stick to the things that got him elected. Among the several we've spoken to, Congressman Don Bacon, somebody who said today that President Trump ran on trying to reduce prices, reduce crime, handle the border, make America strong again overseas. He says all of those things the president should focus on. And then he said this. Take a listen.
I think if he focuses on those 5 things, that's why he won. And if he delivers in those 5 areas, he'll be very successful. I worry about some of the tertiary things he's gotten himself involved with. They did not run on, in my view, and I think that hurts him.
Some of those things, as he mentioned, that he did not run on, some of the more controversial things. We're talking about the spats over Doge and whether or not those, people who have been laid off, that kind of thing that has really sparked protest on the other side. It may be something that's too big to avoid for President Trump as he delivers his address tonight. We will see. But certainly Republicans hoping that the president takes sort of a victory lap for the first month and a half or so that he's been in office for things they perceive as major wins and shifts away from the Biden administration policies.
All right. Joe Khalil, live for us there on Capitol Hill. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.